thought about how spooky, scary skeletons send shivers down your spine? It's pretty spooky, ain't it? Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode from That Manga Dude. This is the FBI, also known as the First Volume Impressions, where I talk about a first volume or a one-shot, and I give my first impressions on it, as the name suggests. Yeah, it's going to be a really interesting month here because it's October, it's the spooky month. So I'm going to be trying to feature manga or horror manga series here. One of them is a newer release, and the other one is a little bit older. So I hope you guys are going to be interested. Please let me know how you feel in the comments below. But let's get started. Let's go. All right, we're hopping right into this one. So this comes to us from the great people down at Starfruit Books. It is a wonderful release that actually first came out in Japan in 1983, which is going to be the oldest manga that I have reviewed for this specific type of video. And it's really exciting because to have it here in the US and in English as well. It officially released here in May of 2022, but I got my copy recently, and that is The Town of Pigs by Hidashi Hino. So, to get some people and some information out there, we have translations done by Dan Luffy, we have retouches by Kelly Newell and Meg Argediu, and then lettering by Kelly Newell. Cover design is by Arbash Mughal, and file prepping is by Luis Chavarria, and project manager is Matt Hosh. So I did have to look up some of those names, so please accept my apologies if I pronounced your names incorrectly. I tried my best. I have a really hard time with pronouncing certain names, so please bear with me. But that's going to do it for that. So let's talk about the cover and the spine. So this is a super terrifying cover with some very scary looking pigs on the front with their bloodshot eyes and like this like terrifying kind of drawing style. Definitely gives you an idea of what's about to happen in this manga. This spine is super cool too. It's kind of hard to tell here, but yeah, I really love the font that they use for the Town of Pigs. The red really pops out behind that black, or in front of that black, excuse me. And I really like the Starfruit Books imprint as well as the author's name in very bright red along this yellow. Super cool. And the back looks super cool as well, featuring the main character, which is not necessarily a spoiler, but you could have guessed. Alright, so now that we got the cover and spine done, let's talk about the characters, because there is one character that I need to talk about, and that is the man, the myth, the legend, the boy that's on the back. His name is Kenichi. So he's the main character of the story. Yeah, he is basically exactly how you would expect someone to react in the events that occur during the story, and I feel I kind of sympathize with him because he goes through a hell of a lot, and it's just like super unfortunate what he has to go through, and it's, yeah, I think he's written pretty well. Like, you totally understand why he's doing the things he's doing, and totally understand as well that he's also a child, so some of the stuff that he does may not seem very smart for an adult, but that's because he's not an adult, so he has to think, or he's trying to think about what he should do, not necessarily what needs to be done. So it's, yeah, it's kind of weird, but I think the character he's done really well, and like all the other characters in this manga, although they don't have a lot of screen time or page time, they all are generally interesting when they do show up and when they have to speak and things like that. So yeah, I think the characters are done pretty well. Now let's get into the meat of the story, because the story is one of the biggest parts of this. So the story goes that this happens in this random town. We don't have a name for it. I'm pretty sure it's just like a town in the middle of nowhere, or in the middle of somewhere, I guess. But on the night of a blood red moon, a bunch of these shadow-looking things come out of nowhere and attack this town, and everyone's freaking out. Everyone's terrified. Kenichi is the only person to escape, and as he's escaping, he sees that they're being the people of the city / town are being taken away and brought to somewhere. Where exactly, we don't know, but that's all I'm going to say in terms of the premise, because I think I don't want to say any more because there's spoilers for the rest of the story. But just know that pigs become involved much later in the story and are a central theme. But yeah, this was a crazy story, to say the least. It is hard to encapsulate exactly everything that happens, and I do find that the ending is a little convoluted, and I'm still a little bit confused about it. I tried to look up some like people trying to explain the ending, and I'm not sure I necessarily agree with what their idea of what happened is correct or not, but I do find the story is very interesting, and the ending does kind of I wouldn't say wraps it up very well. I think like the ending is fine, but I wish that there was some kind of answering to some of the questions. But I do know and I do appreciate that some people would say that that's the point, is that you're supposed to think about it, and I can respect it for that. It definitely opens a lot of questions and doesn't answer a lot, so you can kind of fill in those blanks if you'd like to. For me, though, as a reader, I would prefer that there were some answers to the things that were questioned, I guess. So I think that's all I can really say on the story here. So let's jump into the art. So the art is probably the most unique thing you're going to see in this manga for a variety of reasons. One, because it's not your typical manga art that you would see, at least not in terms of popularity for the 80s. The 80s became more like stuff like Fist of the North Star and like Dragon Ball and very famous shoujo series that I'm sorry I can't name them right now. But the style that this really is reminiscent of like the 60s and 70s, or like mostly the 60s, I would say. Stuff looking like kind of like Astro Boy, where characters have really circular faces. I would say that the art is most reminiscent, in my opinion, to an artist named Shigeru Mizuki. I don't know when that person's art was released, but the kind of the art style there is reminiscent for me. They use a lot of like simplified designs for the faces and characters. I'm just gonna go to the front here, but like a lot of the characters have very simple shapes, circles for like everybody's heads, really simple eyes. However, I do think that the emphasis on backgrounds and other things other than the characters really helps the characters to push out, especially like with like, I don't know. It's hard to explain, but basically like right here is I think a perfect example. So when you look at this page here, I think it's interesting to see that Kenichi is like basically just white and black, but there's a lot of shading techniques used here for like the background, especially for the flooring, that really helps Kenichi to pop out and give this kind of eerie feeling to everything that's going on. And then also here too, like this is like a really simple page, like in retrospect, there's not a lot per se that's being shown, but I think that a reflection of this creepiness is being pushed here, especially with the really dark shadows and across the character's face and along the blankets, while you have this more simple background design, which is interesting because most of the time the background is the one that takes the emphasis. So yeah, it's a nice like back and forth between the characters being super rendered and the backgrounds being super rendered, and yeah, it's just a really well done job across the board. You can definitely see how this manga around the time that was releasing like this were influencing series later to come out. I think a series that comes to mind that was definitely inspired by this is Muyo and Roji's Bureau of Supernatural Investigation, which is a mouthful to say. But you can definitely see similarities there, especially with those circular heads, characters being like kind of like goofy, but have like this quirky and fun design to them. And then of course like the horror aspect as well. Muyo and Roji is definitely more toned down. It's more of a shonen action series than it is a horror series. So, but you can definitely see in like the monster designs that they had some kind of inspiration to it. So it's nice to see that this is like, or like nice to see where the predecessor came, I guess. So overall, I think the art is very good. I think Hideshi Hino's use of black, especially, I mean, there's a lot of use of black in this one. I mean, like the shadows are perfect, and everything's made to reflect that creepiness, the spookiness, the eeriness of everything that's going on. And it really helps to complement the story, because the story is also, creepy, terrifying, and like just very weird, and I think that works with the art here. So would I suggest this to everyone? Probably not. I think the thing with like horror series for me is that it's hard to advertise them, because you have to really like the horror genre. I feel like the horror genre is one of those ones that you can't suggest to everybody, but if you want a really thought-provoking, spooky, dark work, in a short read too, this is probably like I would say like a 30-45 minute read, I would highly suggest picking this up. But I would also highly suggest picking this up too, because it's from a small publisher and they deserve all the love, because they managed to get a super cool manga here in the English translation, which also to mention the translation is done very well, and as well, excuse me, man, I'm having a hard time today, as well as the sound effects as well. I think the sound effects are done really well and really help to create that spookiness as well. So yeah, this is a must pick up for horror fans and a possible pickup for people who are looking to try something new. Especially if you've never read something from the 80s. I think I have, but I'm not going to say yes or no on that. But yeah, this was a very fun read. I will probably read it again sometime soon. Maybe get some more thoughts on it. But yeah, this is a cool read. Pick it up if you got the chance. So, that's going to do it for this FVI. Have you read The Town of Pigs by Hideshi Hino? Please let me know in the comments below and let me know what you think of it because, yeah, I haven't seen a lot of people talk about it, so it'd be nice to see if other people are checking it out. But you know what to do. You can like, comment, favorite, and subscribe. And you know, that's always really appreciated. You guys are killing it with all those likes and all those views. Really appreciate it. Makes making these videos worth it, and it's been a really fun time, especially for October, and the past couple months has been really fun making videos, so definitely feeling the urge to make videos now. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this one. If you managed to make it to the end of the video and you didn't do any of those things like comment, favorite, subscribe, then thanks for watching, because you watched me for 11 minutes and I appreciate it. So that's gonna do it, and we will see you in the next episode.